Gary, what's up? Susan, how are you? Lisa, how you doing? Paula? James, how you doing? Give it a few seconds here. What's new? Same old. Trying to save the world. Rita, how you doing? Okay, guys, looks like we might have a couple more coming in. Okay. Swampwatch. 11, 15, 19. Um, Mike, how you doing? Yeah, a lot happening. Um, a lot of distractions. Um, the impeachment deal is totally blown up on the Democrats. I mean, it's just getting worse for them every day. And Schiff is making himself look like a, oh my God, it doesn't get any better. Carolyn, how you doing? Um, so listen, guys, if they had anything, it takes they don't the Democrats don't have the votes to get this out of the House. At this point, it will never even get to the Senate. If they take a vote, which they would be, I can't see them taking a vote on this because it just exposes them to more damage. Then they will call the whistleblower. Then the president's attorney will be there. They will cross-examine every witness. Because they're doing it the way they're doing it, allows them to perpetrate this sham that they're trying to portray as something to do with impeachment. And all it really is a dog and pony show for a distraction to buy time. They're stalling this out. Paul is saying I've got an echo, and it's just the room. Um, I think. And I think, guys, I think one of the main reasons they're trying so hard to drag this thing out, they understand that when this goes down, and now I'm talking about the impeachment, I'm talking about what they know's coming. The draining of the swamp, the exposing the satanic pedophilia. They need time. I believe that this whole thing, that if anybody that's been following CERN and that project, they're trying to, as crazy as this might sound, they're trying to summon the evil to come to their aid right now. That's what I think is going on. That's why, well, of course, we know they're gonna fight to the end, but I think the stall is so important to them because they know they need a miracle now to get out of this thing, to get back on track with their Agenda 21 and their plan for the world. I think, and I've talked about this for, more than the past year now, about how big, what the time that we're in right now will be talked about for thousands of years in the future. This is the most critical time. This 10-year period, the last 3 to 5 and the next 3 to 5, will go down as the most important in human history, because right now we are we're in the greatest battle, well, I think the final battle between good and evil right now. I think it's playing out. When you look at all of the things going on behind the scenes, for all those of you that have been following for a while, China Lake, everybody remembers the earthquakes at China Lake, the 4th and the 5th of July. Not a lot of people, especially the newbies, won't have put together that it was right then, the 5th of July, that virtually the chemtrails in California, at least for the most part, stopped. Those weren't earthquakes on the 4th and the 5th of July. We were taking down a deep underground military base where it was the main base for the West Coast for chemtrailing, and it was a huge child trafficking hub. Supposedly, they saved, it's like between that several week period around July, from basically maybe that month of July, there were supposedly over 10,000 kids saved from these bases. Those weren't earthquakes there. Those were mini nukes. They needed to root these people out. There are evil entities at work with these people. This whole this isn't like a crazy cult thing. This is what the same kind of stuff that the Germans were working on in World War II. They were really big into the occult. All those people involved with that movement in Germany were snuck into the country through Project Paperclip after the Second World War. And that and basically they used these people as the first inroads into the webs they grew throughout our country. We've talked about this, where basically every facet of our lives has been infiltrated. God, I mean, we know how this ends, right? They're not beating God. But that doesn't mean we could just sit back and cruise because God's going to handle this. I think, and I said this before, I think this was going to go a whole different way. That millions were going to die until we elected President Trump. We changed the course. Now we're going through, not that there aren't a lot of physical battles going on, but hundreds of millions of people aren't going to die. I don't believe the way this is going now. I believe, and just to kind of take a step back here, I was called by God in 2014 to be a watchman, to warn people about what was coming, about these very things, about the draining of the swamp, the exposure of the satanic pedophiles, the first worldwide economic collapse. I believe God feels, if we're Christians, if we're going to call ourselves Christians, and we're living in the most important time in any Christian's life, you cannot, this is bigger than when Jesus was walking the earth. Because this is now the culmination of what his whole life was about, was defeating this evil on earth. So I don't think you can call yourself a Christian and sit on the sidelines and think God's going to take care of this. I believe if you want to call yourself a Christian, if you want to call yourself a patriot, we have a duty, I believe, to step up right now. And trust me, it's a heck of a lot easier to step up right now with what we're facing. Even though we might be headed into some difficult times, trust me, if it would have went the other way, with Hillary getting elected, hundreds of millions were going to die. They were going to start a nuclear war. It's a fact. With North Korea, that was the plan. They had it all planned out. And out of the blue, this isn't something like they just cooked up, a few years ago. This is like a 200-year plan these monsters have been working on. If I believe the people that sit back, who for whatever reason don't step up, I believe you're going to regret it for the rest of your life. You have a chance. Listen, I wouldn't trade places with anyone at any time in history. I can't believe I'm here. We're going to see um, man's greatest age. We're about to participate in man's greatest accomplishment. How can you sit on this? How can you call yourself a Christian and sit on the sidelines? And this isn't directed at Watchmen, guys. This is something maybe you should show all of your friends, all of your Christian friends who are sitting back, because most Christians today are missing the boat. I can't believe how many Christians I know who don't want to hear it. And to me, and I understand, you know, people are maybe going to be afraid. And trust me, I went through this myself, because especially in 2014 with Obama as president and the things that I was speaking out about, I knew not only me, but my family was in danger, because that's how these people operate. You know, when this goes down, and just all you have to do is look what's happened, because this evil's been around for a while. Look at what happened in Russia. Look what happened in Germany. It's happened Armenia, China, Cambodia. Millions upon millions murdered, because that's how it goes. They clear out whole families because they want to eradicate the opposition. That's how they operate. We're not in that situation right now. We're right now in a position of power. In 2014, I didn't see any path to get to this point that we're at right now. To be sitting right here at this point, this far along, almost to the end, and virtually unscathed, the world, for the most part, it's, trust me, when everyone finds out the whole big picture of what was going to happen, what these monsters had planned, it's people, it's people are having a hard time with the little stuff. So, that they're, butchering children in these satanic rituals to try and call up these forces of evil. I don't I don't know how a Christian can look at what's going on around the world and not be in the middle of this. I don't think you can call yourself a Christian and do it. I mean, I just don't see it. I understand the ones that are just too stupid to get it. And there are those people out there. And God bless them. I got no hard feelings, but your family's going to suffer if you don't get on the ball. This is a time to be bold. This is a time to stick your neck out. This is a time to stand up. This is what this is what, growing up as a Catholic, going to Catholic school, parochial school, being an altar boy, I was taught this day was coming sometime. I to me, it's crystal clear what's happening in the world. I don't know how you can look around the world and not see the evil that. Oh my God, just look at what they're promoting. Look at how they're trying to normalize this pedophilia and this Sharia law where they're marrying 8-year-old kids. Um, and our government had been promoting that agenda because it's a way to normalize that sickness, that evil. It's why I had my stroke. You know, you can't have any compassion in you and then know about what they're doing to these children. And I'm not talking about 10 or 20 or 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 or 50,000. I'm talking about millions of children that these monsters have tortured and murdered and used for body parts. You know, child trafficking is the number one, well, that and drug trafficking, number one, number two sources of revenue for the black hats, the deep state / CIA, however you want to label them. And they're trying around the world to normalize this kind of thing. They're trying to equate pedophilia to homosexuality, to being gay. Listen, in this country, 2 adults consenting, I may not agree with it, but knock your lights out. With children, there's no crossing that line. Not happening. Not in the world that God wants. Not in the world that a Christian should want. So how do you sit back and see things like the Epstein case and NXIVM and then not start asking questions and seeing where this is leading? Because if you follow that trail, it'll take you right to where I'm at right now. And you can't sit back. You just can't. You got to be screaming from the rooftops right now. We all should be screaming from the rooftops right now. When the world finds out, they're going to wonder why everyone wasn't screaming from the rooftops. And it basically boils down to, it's work. You know, it's hard. There's no excuses. So what? It's difficult material. It's difficult to find it. You've got everything working against you. You know, your friends, most of your friends, most of your family. But you can't be listening to this right now and think there's an option here. I just don't. I don't see how you can. And again, the watchmen are here because you are a part of this. But we need to spread this message to everyone we know. This is it. We are at the end. We're not getting to the end of this year, guys, before this stuff really starts cracking. they're not going to wait until the 2020 election to arrest Obama and Clinton. The arrests are going to start soon. You know, the exact date, I don't know, but it's going to be before the end of the year. They're probably going to start with, you know, which are really pretty big dogs. You know, people like Clapper, Brennan, Comey, probably Mueller, McCabe. I think all those people will go down in the next few months. It might take into next year before we get to Obama and Clinton, but they're coming. And one of the reasons, one of the things that slowed this process down a little bit, I believe, is that they're concerned about this cognitive dissonance. It's going to be a problem, and that's, again, why it's so important that we are planting these seeds. And it is, I think it's our biggest danger. I've said it before. This has the potential to go worst case scenario. And just think about this for a second. I think the longer that this goes on, the greater chance that that they summon some type of evil up that is going to hurt Christians and patriots. So the more people that we can get red-pilled about this stuff, I think the easier it is for President Trump to pull the trigger on this, because there are a lot of factors going on here, guys. Most importantly, I think, the two most important factors are the threats that the deep state still has. I think there's they still have a chemtrailing base, I think, in northern Nevada. I think there's a few nukes missing. So there are some potential threats out there. But as big, I think, is the cognitive dissonance that President Trump understands that, you know, this, we're going to go through something that the world has never seen. So you can't script this out 100%. I've said, you know, if he keeps the power on, keeps the stores stocked with food, we'll get through this okay. But that's, you know, going best case scenario. You know, they pull the evil out of the hat. Who knows what we could be faced with? What I do know is, I think the sooner that we take these people down, the sooner it all ends. I think once you cut off the head of the snake, which is basically, you're talking the Rothschilds, here it would be like Bush, Obama, Clinton. You know, we have to round up all of these central bankers, all these globalist leaders around the world. The royal family's been involved in this. Anybody who's guilty, no matter what their position is going to get the justice they deserve. The question is, do we get through this pretty much how it's gone to this point with minimal losses, or does this get out of hand? I don't think we're going to have any nuclear exchanges. I don't think, you know, there's a lot of rumors. I think Kissinger just wrote an article about, you know, Third World War with China. It's not going to happen. China, listen, for there to be a world war, you got to have two of the big three. So we got China, Russia, the United States. China's not falling for it, and Russia's not falling for it, and we're not falling for it. There will not be a nuclear war. There might be a wild card where Iran sets one off somewhere. It's going to be isolated, and trust me, it would be the worst thing Iran could ever do, because they would have hell rain down on them, because then they would be up against China, Russia, and the United States, because we understand that the backstory here. This isn't about trade. This is 100% about the future of the world. And are we going to go down that path of evil or not? Russia's on board, China's on board, America's on board. Now we have to finish this and take these people down. Okay. Let me just go through my notes here and I'll get to questions. Yeah. It's also going to be the greatest transfer of wealth in history, guys. This is a challenge, but those that step up to the challenge are going to be rewarded mightily, I believe. And then some responsibility comes with that too. I see a whole shift. We're going through a shift, guys. There's definitely going to be a resurgence in spirituality. We've kind of gotten away from that over the last 50 years. And I see us, it's going to be different. I think the Catholic Church is done. I think most organized, well, I don't want to say organized religions, but organized churches are going to go by the wayside. I think we're going to go to a whole different deal. I think we're going to go to home-based churches where neighbors get together, and then not only do they have services, but they also will plan to help. This is all about serving others, guys, putting others first. That's what religion is really, that's what God wants. This isn't about spending an hour in church on Sunday. I saw that scam being a Catholic. And these guys who were criminals, some of the worst people in town, go to confession, they're good for another week. It's, really, guys? Basically what they're saying is you can murder somebody on Friday night, go to confession Sunday morning, and you're 100% good with God. No. That's not how it works. It's how you live your life. It's how you treat others. I don't know how you can read the Bible and not understand that that is the whole core, right? I mean, what it is to be a Christian is others first. Okay. Again, I am not a preacher, but being spiritually prepared is as important as being physically prepared, because listen, the bottom line is we're all dying. We're all going to die at some point. Anybody, and I've said before, I believe that we're going to get through this pretty clean, but you can always be at the wrong place at the wrong time. There are going to be some areas that might be rougher than others. Anybody that doesn't make it doing God's work, what do you have to worry about? I mean, as Christians, the greatest thing that can happen to us is at the end, where we end up. So there's nothing to fear here. You know, I'd be scared if I wasn't doing what I was doing. You know what I mean? If I was kicking back and enjoying things. I haven't been able to do that for 5 years. And that's okay. Like I said, this is probably the hardest thing I've ever done, but the most rewarding thing I've ever done. I wouldn't trade it for the world. If I died tomorrow, I got no regrets. I'm proud of the things we've been doing here. Every one of you should be proud of what you're doing. But now is the time to finish this thing. Now is the time to step up, to be counted, and to call on your... Really, this isn't even about... This is about humanity here. I don't care if you're religious or not. This is right and wrong. There's no gray area here with what we're talking about. And that's why I think we're going to see the true nature of a man come out here. Because my premise is man's true nature is to be good. What happens is when you get men of power manipulating our social constructs, and then we have things like the Vietnam War. We have things like Afghanistan. We've got things like Iraq. We've got things like 9/11. Those are all manipulated by man to create death and destruction. And a lot of money for the people that are the puppet masters, pulling all the strings. It's all connected, guys. And anybody that doesn't see God and the Bible at work here with how this is going down, you really need to start rethinking your evaluation process, your critical thinking skills. And everybody needs them right now, guys. You got to have discernment. You've got to be using your critical thinking skills. And you've got to step up. It's time. Okay, let's see what we got for questions. This is, I don't want to be doom and gloom here, guys, because I honestly believe, for the most part, this is over. We've got to finish this. We've got to keep going, and we've got to wake up as many people as we can to make it easier. But I think that the worst of the battle is done. We should be celebrating. I mean, we don't want to do it early, but we can definitely look around and look where we've come from that just 5 years ago and where we were at with, and now people are able to see what I was seeing 5 years ago, how corrupt the Obama administration was, and that they have just been carrying on, what's been going on since Johnson, since they assassinated Kennedy, basically. Somebody's mentioning record highs in the stock market. This is what we're going to see, guys. We're going to see record highs until it blows, probably next week. The 19th, Bo Polney, who's been pretty good on the highs, he says the 19th, next week, I think it's Tuesday, is going to be the last high, and then it's going to drop off from there. So what I would expect to see is the stock market go up again on Monday, go up again on Tuesday, then start dropping on Wednesday. The other thing we can expect to see, don't think that the powers that be, the elites, don't have their finger on the pulse here. You can expect, up until the middle of next week, probably gold and silver to get hammered pretty good, and the cryptocurrencies to get hammered pretty good. That's always what they do when they know uh, that a crash is coming, because what they want to do, they want to drive the price down so they can buy it up right before everything blows up. So that's kind of how I see this next week going. Again, I agree with Bull Pony. Listen, this stock market, it's 100% total fabrication based on the money these guys are printing and pouring out to their elite buddies who are buying up the stocks. It's all smoke and mirrors, guys. That's why it's going to end so badly, because this bubble is blown up. The bigger it gets, the bigger the pop, and it's bigger than it's ever been, by not even close. Okay. Yeah, Prince Andrew's going to have more than an interview coming. No problem, Mike. That's a great thing about these live chats. You can always watch them later, the next day, whatever. Yeah. Yeah. Listen, there's a lot of crazy stuff going to be coming out, guys. Things that are beyond science fiction stuff. Um, I think there's going to be a lot of stuff coming out of Antarctica, interdimensional beings, uh, inner Earth beings. There's a lot of stuff. Oh yeah, um, yeah. There was. I don't know if it was a prosecutor, somebody fighting corruption in Ukraine, was murdered with an acid attack. Chad, how you doing? Yeah, Paul is mentioning the ostrich effect. Burying your head in the sand. Um, all we can do is try. All we can do is plant the seeds with those people. I believe they're going to have a lot of regrets in 6 months or a year when they see um, how badly they failed God's calling. I mean, and um, this isn't like, this is something special. I think, guys, this is just being a Christian. This, you know, it's not like they're. See, I always, growing up, I mean, I used to think about this. I want to be here. People talk about, some Christians talk about being raptured. I don't want to be raptured. I want to see this thing through to the end. Um, it's, I don't know. Lisa's asking what I think about JFK Jr. and Caroline being alive and part of Q. I believe it's 100% true. I believe JFK Jr. is going to be the next vice president of the United States. We'll see, but there's a lot of I've spent hours and hours and hours on this, guys. Um, you know, from 1999 and the crash, or even before that, to me, it's the most logical explanation. When you look at how they handled this, buried them at sea. It stunk to high heaven, 20 years ago. And then there's just so much evidence there, guys. If you dig into this, I think you'll agree with me. And the bottom line is, we're going to find out pretty quick. Oh, yeah. So, Roger Stone was convicted, all 7 counts. Nothing to do with President Trump. This was him supposedly lying to Congress, maybe lying to investigators, some of his dealings from the past. I think that being registered as a foreign agent that they're getting a lot of these people on now. It's basically trumped up BS. And it certainly doesn't affect the president. And I don't think we've seen the end of it either, because when we get to the end of this, there's a lot of stuff going to be cleaned up. And I don't think Roger Stone's going to spend any time in jail. He's not going to spend the next 10 years in jail. If he's there, he's not going to be there for very long, I don't think. Yeah, he might get pardoned by President Trump, but there's going to be a lot coming out about this whole process of the people that they went after to get at President Trump. So whether they acquit him or the courts just set him free, I don't think he's gonna spend a lot of time in jail. Oh, well, listen. No, don't give up on, because not next year. Litecoin and silver are going to be big this year, guys. I'm talking about what's going to happen next week. Listen, we're not going to. I don't see how Litecoin and silver can be under $200 or $300 minimum by the end of the year, and maybe by the end of the month. When this thing goes, it's going to go hard, and that means a hard decline for the paper assets and hard rise for the assets that are outside of the system, which is precious metals, gold and silver, and cryptos. For us, Litecoin. Silver and Litecoin, guys. Yeah, so let's see how close Bo Polney is on his prediction. We're looking at the Tuesday for the last high, and then a huge drop after that. Well, we should know by the end of next week if he's right. And of course, guys, it could, drop 20, 30 points Wednesday, and it could take a few days, but I think when it goes, it's going to go hard. Okay, guys, that's all the questions for tonight. It's a time when I think we really need to look hard at ourselves, look hard at our friends, relatives, neighbors. Do what we can do, and God is looking for warriors right now, but not all warriors have to carry guns, right? I hope it doesn't come to that, but we can be warriors on social media. I mean, you can see how badly they are fighting back against us with their censorship. because we scare the hell out of them. They did not expect this. They did not expect the people to rise up. It's totally caught them off guard. I mean, it ruined their game. It ruined their plan. They did not expect to be in this position right now. Trust me. And you can tell by their reactions. You know, they're running around Washington like their hair's on fire. They're peeing their pants. They know where this is headed. They're desperate. So let's keep the pressure on. Keep spreading the word. Keep preparing. Be positive. Unity is what's going to get us through this. I know that everybody's talking about this coming civil war. Trust me, when the liberals see what these monsters have been doing to our children, not a one of them will ever vote Democrat again, let alone get out in the streets and riot because these monsters were arrested, convicted, and put to death. They will be celebrating in the streets. So the toughest part, I think, is going to be the next couple of months. Let's just keep pushing. I'm going to leave it there, guys. Remember, fear not. God and President Trump are still 1,000% in control. We'll see you tomorrow night at 5. God bless.